Wow.
All right, Clayton, after the show, it's the After BO. Welcome to the web exclusive on the BO Boys YouTube network, After BO. So we just did a huge episode on the podcast feed with Jeff Bach of Exhibitor Relations Co. He had to get back to Hollywood, so we ended it there on the podcast feed. But we've got a big after show, and we're starting it off, Clayton, by talking about the trailer that just dropped for the video game adaptation Borderlands. So this movie comes out in what, September? This is not a summer movie, is
August.
it? In August. Okay,
I
so this is an
believe it's
August
I believe it's
movie.
August 9th, if I'm not mistaken.
We both just watched this trailer. We're both coming in fresh. We have not discussed our thoughts on it in the hallway at BOHQ. So what is your first reaction to this Borderlands trailer? Kevin Hart, Cate Blanchett, the voice of Jack Black, the little girl from, or not little girl, I guess the child star from the Barbie movie, Ariana Greenblatt. What do you think of Borderlands?
Guardians. I mean, I think that's what everybody's been saying, is that this is this trailer. I'm trying to think of a trailer for a major motion picture that has so aped another franchise's whole vibe and trailer more than this. It is almost criminal.
Yeah, like, they do an Electric Light Orchestra song in the trailer.
Yeah. It really, truly, I understand why you would do it, because Guardians is big. It's sort of what you want this to be, tone-wise, but you have to differentiate it somehow from Guardians. And it's almost, I mean, Cate Blanchett is playing Star-Lord.
Yes.
I mean, the thing with Cate Blanchett, which Tar should have won Best Actress last year, did not want to win, so did not win.
Yeah, but towering performance.
Towering performance, absolutely. Was never a big Cate Blanchett person, really, until Tar, and have gone back and seen other performances and been like, okay, cool, I'm on board here. She seems so uncomfortable in this trailer. Really, like, I'm sure she did her best. I'm sure that this was a huge paycheck for her and maybe a fun chance to do something different, which all great actors want to do at some point. And I just feel like, from what I saw in this trailer, it's not a good fit. Kevin Hart, it's weird to see him on the big screen and not doing some sort of Amazon fitness wish list sort of show.
Right.
So he's doing his Kevin Hart thing.
This is the star of Peacock's Heart to Heart talk show, is now in the movies. Kevin Hart. Wow,
yeah, absolutely. Good, big come up for him. We're currently in litigation with that show, so we can't really talk too much about it. Jack Black, of course, is the voice of the robot. I mean, that's stellar casting, perfect. Yeah. You know, he's shitting out bullets at the end. I wasn't really into that bit so much, but I do think it was what this tone of this movie is trying to be. And of course, this is a video game adaptation. It's for the teens and the tweens. It's for a different generation. This movie is not for me. So I'm not going to try to judge it on whether I would enjoy this or want to see this, because I would not want to see this movie. But it's not for me. It's for the Five Nights at Freddy's crowd. That's what this movie is for. And will it hit them? Maybe. I mean, they grew up on Guardians. Guardians is one of those movies they grew up on. So the fact that they're using that as a marketing, for us, it seems so on the nose. But for them, it might feel like, oh, another movie from the franchise, like the franchise that now is over, that I really loved. I mean, even the big bulky guy is Batista's sort of character without the quips.
Yeah, I agree with you in that. In the trailer, Cate Blanchett doesn't seem as natural a fit for this material as Chris Pratt did, for instance. You see those trailers in the movies. Chris Pratt is made for Guardians movies. She's still, I mean, I'm curious when the reviews come out. I can't imagine this is going to be a well-reviewed movie, but maybe she's actually better in the movie than she seems in the trailer. And I do think there's just always going to be something jarring about seeing her in this type of thing the first time. Because if you look at her career, she just does not do this type of movie at all. So yes. I think we almost have to watch the trailer like 50 to 100 times before we could really judge whether she seems comfortable or not. Because I think it's more, we feel uncomfortable with seeing Cate Blanchett in this setting.
That's a good call. I mean, it's imagine so like, because like it would be, what I imagine. It's weird that I'm imagining this, but like, say you put this movie came out in the 90s and you put Barbra Streisand in that, like you would feel like what? But then, she could pull it off. Like I could now then do the mind gymnastics of thinking, well, she could pull it off because she wouldn't do it if she couldn't pull it off.
Exactly. I think there is a chance that she is really good in this. I gotta say, long range do have high hopes for this because, Kevin Hart did become a streamo guy, did become more of a fitness guy and a travel log guy, but
a litigious talk show host.
Yes.
Yeah.
But he was a box office star until he decided he didn't want to do that anymore. 2019, this guy's opening The Upside, and that movie's going to $100 million. He was one of our last genuine stars, comedy stars at the box office. And this is the type of movie people want to see him in. He did great in Jumanji, big budget. He just has to go and do the Kevin Hart voice and be like, what am I doing here? This is crazy. Like, that's what people want. I think he's well cast. Jack Black is the voice of a robot. I mean, that's perfect. It's based on a video game. Comic book movies are dead. Those aren't cool, but video games are cool. And if you're going to do a Guardians ripoff, do it on a video game IP. I think this is in August. You look at what's opening around it. I think this trailer could do... this movie could do really well.
And Pat, we're not gamers.
Unless it's a disaster, which I don't think it will be.
We're not gamers, huh?
Huh?
But do you know how many copies the whole Borderlands series has sold? So there's been 3 so far and then some ancillary titles. How many copies?
Copies.
5
million.
Dude, no. More.
No. 10 million.
So many more.
30 million.
So many more than that.
100 million.
Less than that.
Okay, we're talking in the 80 million range, 70
we're
million
talking
range?
75 million copies.
Wow.
Have sold since the first Borderlands. That is a lot of putting your money where your mouth is for these kids.
Yeah.
Or where your fingers are, however you want to say for playing video games. And that is going to translate. I mean, we saw what Uncharted did. We saw what Five Nights at Freddy's did. These are popular games with young people. At least, I'm not sure how popular it is now, obviously, but it's one of those things that it is a legacy brand. And so there is going to be interest here. And you know what? Good for Eli Roth. I know there were some reshoots that were done by, I believe, Tim Miller while he was finishing up Thanksgiving. I thought there was a controversy there, but there doesn't seem to be any sort of controversy. Maybe I'm not as well read about the situation. But I mean, good for someone like Eli Roth because, there was a time where, he had his torture porn, quote unquote, run, and then he was doing Green Inferno. He was doing Aftershock. He was doing low budget, cheapy, not going to theaters, horror movies. This is a huge blockbuster. This is a prime IP that this gentleman got to do.
And huge stars.
And from the looks of it, it looks polished and good for this sort of movie.
Yeah. I'm kind of only positive on this trailer. Like, again, I might not end up loving this movie. It may come out in a week the week before it comes out. I may personally have no interest in this, but I mean, it looks like a big movie, and the cast is all very current. Jamie Lee Curtis won an Oscar last year. Cate Blanchett almost won an Oscar last year. Jack Black, top of his game. He's going to be coming off a Kung Fu Panda 4, which we talk about on the latest issue of the podcast. And Kevin Hart making his return to box office. This is a big step up for video game movies. Five Nights at Freddy's did giant business, but it was pretty low rent in a lot of ways. Borderlands feels like a really glossy, we're taking these things seriously production. So I think this trailer looks great.
Yeah.
For box office potential.
Now I will have to say though, to be it's consistent in my critique, because if you're listen to the stuff I've said before on this podcast and even in the podcast episode we just did, this is tongue-in-cheek action. And so there is, a little bit of me that's like, are we over that? Is that passe? My combat of that statement that I've made previously about other films is that I do think this is for teens.
Yes.
And so they are going to want that sort of humor. There is an edgelord element with Borderlands from what I know. And I do think that this will have that. And by I say edgelord, I'm not saying like the real serious like bullshit. I'm saying like regular teenagers wanting to say fart and poopy and bad words.
Exactly.
That's what but I might have used that term, that unfortunate term in a wrong way. I think kids want to seem controversial, and there's a level that they'll go to when they're very young that I think Borderlands sort of plays with.
Yeah, it gives them a robot who's pooping metal, and Jack Black is saying this feels good, pooping bullets. Yeah,
and don't watch me now, watch me. Like those sort of skirting the edge of sexual innuendo. That's the sort of stuff I'm talking about.
Yeah, it's your entry point to Deadpool. Is Borderlands?
I mean, I think Borderlands is very equivalent to Deadpool. I don't know if there's going to be pegging or whatnot, but I think that there
will be.
There is an equivocation between the two, with that sort of humor. So we'll see. Is that still in vogue in August? Who knows?
Yeah. So we got some emails that we want to go through, Clayton. And
you guys have been churning them out. Jeez, thank you so much. We love this. We love the feedback. We're getting new Wanna BO boys, Wanna BO girls, Wanna BO people emailing us. It's great. Keep it coming.
So, Clayton, where do you want to start? Do you want to start with this one from Wanna BO boy Chris?
Go for it. You want to read it?
So is this the one about Wicked and Moana 2? Okay, so here we go. So, hey, Pat. Hey, Clayton. Your conversation talking about Barbenheimer and Wicked Moana 2 was interesting. I think some info has been forgotten about Wicked. It has the Ariana Grande bump that can't be discounted. Grande is a new album releasing next month. Hasn't toured in over 3 years. First time in a long time for Grande fans to get out and show their support. She has a huge dedicated following. Domestic should be a rather largest opening worldwide too. The Grande Mafia isn't to be messed with. And then he says, I know this because my girlfriend is one of them, has already penciled us into pulling a Barbenheimer when Wicked and Moana 2 come out. So let's start there. I mean, we never mentioned Ariana Grande when we talked about the potential of Wicked and Disney sending Moana 2 after it. I listen. I think Wicked 2. I think Wicked's going to be big, and I think trying to undercut it with Moana 2 is a mistake on Disney's part. And we didn't even think of Ariana Grande, and yeah, she's in this movie, and she's still got a lot of fans, including Chris's girlfriend.
Yes, I do think there is some interest in Ariana Grande, although, if you look at pop stars who've tried to become actors, even in a small sense, obviously Taylor Swift was not as big as she is now. Taylor Swift tried to be in movies. She may be in another movie that is not an event at some point, but, Beyonce tried to be an actress. There's so many of these pop stars that try to do movies that they don't take off. Lady Gaga is one that has been able to be critically acclaimed and also be in big hits. I think Joker 2 is going to be amazingly huge, obviously.
Huge.
Yeah. Biggest star other than Leo,
Yep.
Joker is, and also Gaga factor. And this is a musical people are actually going to want to see and want to know that it's a musical. Ariana Grande as a butts in the seats sort of draw is debatable to me. The only thing that makes this maybe possible that people are going to really be excited is because she does sing and she is a singer. So she's not just straight acting. I will believe it when I see it when it comes to Ariana Grande as a big screen presence. Now, she was a TV star, but she was a Disney TV star. So they don't necessarily do legitimate acting the way that other actors have done. So, because she was a kid. I mean, I'm not trying to be rude, but like those shows are for kids and they are acted by kids that maybe sometimes don't want to actually be acting. So,
Right. You could be forced to act against your will in this country. I think that she could be additive. You know, the IP is the draw there. The stars don't matter in a real way. It is just Wicked's a big IP. And I think her fan base overlaps pretty well with the type of people who'd want to see Wicked. So I think she helps in that way.
Oh, she definitely helps. And I think the bump is there, but a bump... What is the size of the bump is the question. That is the big question.
I think she's an affirming presence where like some people who maybe would have been on the bubble, do we see it this weekend or do we see Moana? I think she helps you make that decision. But for people who already wanted to see a Wicked musical,
and
not
we also
a new
don't,
audience.
And the thing with the Moana 2 is we don't know who's going to be doing the voices.
We don't know who's going to do in the voices. Yeah.
So at least we know Ariana Grande is in Wicked. We don't know. We don't know who's doing the voice of the Moana.
Of Maui. Yeah, we don't know who's
or the titular Moana.
Yeah. Let's move on to an email we got from Wannabe Oh Boy Reed. Love getting emails from Wannabe Oh Boy Reed. He asks, "Have you ever walked out of a movie? I saw Lisa Frankenstein last Friday night. C+ movie. I've seen a lot worse than this. There was only 3 people in the theater. Wow. The other couple in their late 30s left an hour in. So I was wondering if you've ever walked out of a movie. I've fallen asleep in movies, but never walked out." Wow, that is damning that 2/3 of the Lisa Frankenstein audience just straight up walked out of the movie. And an hour in, that means they hated that movie. You know, this was not got up and walked out because we sat in the wrong movie theater or, you know, this was purely, I've had enough of this and I'm not going to get to the end. Clayton, have you ever walked out of a movie in that way? You know, we've done movie sneaks where we've had to walk out to catch another movie, and then we've often come back to catch the rest of that movie later in the day. But have you ever walked out just because you've had enough? Have you ever tapped out of a movie?
Yes. So first off, I will not jump on the Lisa. Not that you're bashing Lisa Frankenstein. Obviously, you're not. I'm not.
No,
but I do. I feel some need to stick up for this movie. I do think that I do want to see this movie at some point, and I do think that, you know, I'm getting people are saying this is like one of the worst movies they've ever seen. I can't believe that to be true. I'm sorry. So I don't want to bash on Lisa Frankenstein. I do want to see that movie. So I do understand, though, this is boots on the ground, and you can only report what you can report. And a C is fine for a movie, right? I don't think it's gonna be mind blowing, but I do want to see this, and I do root for the people behind it.
Yeah.
I have left 2 movies that way.
Okay.
Man of Steel.
Wow.
I walked out of Man of Steel because I hated it so much that I was there with a group of friends. And I said, I'm going to wait in the lobby because this is terrible and I hate this. And I stood out in the lobby and waited for them to be done with the movie. I did not get to see him murder Zod, which is what happens, correct? Spoiler for a movie that's been out for a very long time, from a defunct universe.
Yeah. Although Zod does return in The Flash, so we do get more of his story.
So yes, he finishes his story.
Finishes the story, yes.
So that movie I did. And then Alien Covenant, I walked out of.
Mm-hmm.
I just was like,
Wow.
what is this? What is this? And I also, that was during the movie pass time when I was seeing movies pretty much every day. So that one was like, am I really going to sit here and not have fresh air and watch an Alien sequel that is already pretty bad? So I did walk out of that movie. But those are the only two that I've walked out of because of quality, perceived quality, my opinion of a movie.
Wow. I don't think I ever have. I mean, I must have, but I can't think of a situation where I ever decided I need to leave this because I don't enjoy it anymore and I can't get through it. I feel like I've always gutted through no matter what the movie was. I may have left something early because I had an appointment and the movie itself was just like a time killer in between. Like that may
I
have
know of
happened.
one. Do you want me to say
Okay.
one?
Yeah. Remind me. Yes.
A Christmas classic.
Yes.
You and another person who will be unnamed because they do not
yes.
like this show would walked out of Daddy's Home 2 before Sully Sullenberger shows up.
Yep. That's the big one. And that I did not leave that because I couldn't take anymore. I was enjoying the film. You know, I was enjoying Daddy's Home 2. I disagree that it's better than Daddy's Home 1. I will fight you on that one. But
the bit with the temperature in the room, the thermometer.
Yep.
That is an all-time bit, better than anything in the first one. It's got Sully Sullenberger, which you didn't get to witness in theater, and everybody in New York City cheered for this hero.
Yeah. I when you told me that Sully Sullenberger played one of the daddies at the end, it blew my mind. I couldn't believe that. But I did leave that one early, but that was appointment based. That was we went to see a movie because it fit into a schedule and then we had to move on to get somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
So we left early, but we did not leave.
You did respect the nativity. You at least respected the nativity.
We respect the nativity. We saw that scene. I've never left that way. I've had to leave because of people I've been to the movie with. A date that I was on at Adventureland had to leave because she was hating it. And, you know, I don't love that movie, but I would have stayed to the end. And we only left with 20 minutes left. And it still confused me as to why she couldn't get through the last 20 minutes, but she couldn't. She couldn't do it.
That's a great movie. I don't understand that. Sorry. It's a great movie.
Synecdoche, New York, which is right now my number 2 film of all time after Goodfellas. Famously, I left that one early because the who I was with, she could not take it anymore, was having kind of a panic attack from that movie. So the movie was working. It was doing what it should have done. Mm-hmm. I was loving it. She was going to have a panic attack a half hour in. We had to leave. I didn't get to see it again until all the way through until, you know, it got to DVD or cable a year later.
It's constant rotation on TNT.
Yeah, well, of course, or Lifetime Network. You know, so I had to walk out of that, and then, you know, Hollywood Insider Deep Popcorn, who I've known for a long time. We walked out of Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas because Deep Popcorn was hating the movie so much that he was like, I gotta go. I can't take this anymore. And then I just left because I'm like, all right, we're hanging out today. So,
well, he's a straight shooter and he doesn't put up with any of that drug fueled nonsense.
No, he's a businessman, Deep Popcorn. And so he couldn't take it anymore and we left. So those are the situations in which I have walked out. I can't think of a movie that I've walked out of purely because I hate this experience.
Now, since this is a bonus episode, I'll tell this really quickly, but also it's a very personal. I don't get personal really on this podcast. And I don't think I've told this story before, but I did walk out of Beetlejuice. This is a story you know.
Okay.
You might not remember it because I remember your stories more than you remember mine, obviously. But this was when I was very young. I was a very young man. I was taken to this film by my babysitter, who I was in love with. And I thought, okay, I love Michael Keaton. He's my man. He's from Pittsburgh. He's a local boy. I'm going to go to this movie, even though it seems really scary to me. I'm going to go see this movie and watch it with my babysitter, who I loved. And I tried, and once those sandworms showed up, I got so scared. I said, we gotta go, we gotta go. And she looked at me like, you little piece of shit. I paid for this movie and you're making me walk out because you're scared. And I was so ashamed. I'm still ashamed.
Yeah,
I
you should be.
sit here ashamed.
Yes.
I sit here in my own shame because I couldn't, and I'm not going to name the person, I couldn't sit there and just be strong for this woman I loved and watch the sandworms. And that is probably my most, I regret that the most out of maybe anything I've ever done in my life, if I'm being truly honest.
Okay. Not that you don't have other things you should be ashamed of, because you do and you should be.
I'm not saying there's things that aren't close.
Yeah. No, that could be the number one. Now, most people, when they make such a horrible mistake like you made, something that just follows in the rest of their life, they often don't get a chance to rectify that. You have that chance because the sequel, Beetlejuice, opens in September. So I pose you this. Do you find that babysitter?
Yes.
Reach out to that ex-babysitter.
Yes.
And invite her to see Beetlejuice with you. And this time, you're going to have to do it. You stay to the end, no matter how scared you get.
You know what, Pat? That is a spectacular idea, and I'm going to do that. I'm going to track down this person and see if, obviously they're still with us. I don't know, hopefully, because we're not that old. She was only a little bit older than me.
Right. Babysitters could often be like 3 years older than the person they're babysitting.
Yes, that was sort of the case. I think she was at least 3 to 4 years.
Yeah.
And I will try to track them down with whatever means I can and ask them to see this movie. And if they will come with me, I will take care of their transportation cost.
Right.
I will put them up in a reasonable Airbnb. And, it's going to be one night. I'm not going to make a weekend out of it or anything like that.
Right.
This isn't a free vacation. This is, this is
very specific. Yeah.
This is about me actually more than anything. But yeah, that's a great idea. And I'm going to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you have to. I think you have to cover it on the show. I think this is great. Great radio.
Oh, I'm going to bring the Zoom recorder will be with me if this happens. This is going to, you're going to get the sounds of us watching this movie.
Yeah. I think you have to record the phone call that you make when you do find where she is.
I love how you act like I don't record all of my phone calls.
Of course. Yes. No matter what state they're in, no matter what the laws are, you record them all.
Yeah.
So you got to do it. You got to track her down, which is the way any good movie outing starts, with someone tracking another human being down. And the two of you have to go to Beetlejuice, and you cannot walk out. You have to sit through it.
What if it's so scary, though?
Listen, the best result of this is you track her down. She agrees to do this. You bring her in.
All
and
the
you
expense.
leave halfway through.
Right. Yeah, I can't do it.
Yeah. Yeah, that kind of is what has to happen. Let's move on, Clayton. On our last, or a couple episodes ago, we had the great Kirk Minahan on the show, and we were talking about, will there ever be a Bruce Springsteen movie? And none of us knew about, apparently, there is a Bruce Springsteen movie. So we got an email from Wannabe Boy Max, who emailed us. There is a Bruce Springsteen movie in the works with Scott Cooper directing. And then he says, curious to know who you would cast as Bruce Springsteen. What actors are we thinking of here? I think Paul Giamatti is a great actor, but not the right fit for Bruce Springsteen. But could his Holdovers co-star Dominic Sessa potentially star as a young Bruce Springsteen? Thank you, Wannabe Boy Max, for sending us this. So he sent us a World of Real article saying that Springsteen has been consulting with Scott Cooper So Scott Cooper is the director of Crazy Heart, which won Jeff Bridges an Oscar, meaning Scott Cooper is always going to be someone who gets big actors in his movies because he wrote and directed a movie where someone won an Oscar for it. So his box office track record since then has been spotty, but big names are always going to want to be in his movies. This seems like a perfect fit for him to go back to that, music movie. I don't know how close this is to happening. It seems like it's just in the, maybe we'll do it stage, but director-wise, that seems like it fits. So what do you think about Max's suggestion, Holdovers Dominic Sessa as Springsteen?
Sessa is the Holdovers was his first real part.
Oh, first non school play part. Yeah. Like straight up, like they discovered someone in that movie.
So he might have been Danny Zuko in his high school play musical of Grease. That's possible. He could be, but I don't think there's much footage other than, shaky iPhone camera footage of that if it does exist. He's a bit gangly, a bit tall to be Bruce. But I think actors do what they do. They transform.
Right.
Now, in a perfect world, and I know, obviously,
cameras, you could put someone in a hole. He could stand in a pit or whatever.
It'd be
put
one of
other
those,
people on apple boxes.
Be one of those rare cases where they actually have to make an actor look shorter.
Right.
That's not a Hobbit.
Right.
The thing with this is that, and I hate this because this seems so, you can't do it. You can't cast this person because they've already been cast as one of the most legendary musical artists ever. But it's so hard for me not to be on the Austin Butler train with this, just because I do think he could do the voice. He could do the floppy hats. He could do the singing. We know this.
You could do the singing, yeah. He'll sound like Elvis, but he'll
you know what? Bruce was very influenced by, Dylan, Elvis, these guys, these mythic rock and roll people. There is that, like, my immediate mind went to him, but it's not going to happen because he already did Elvis. You can't do Bruce and Elvis. I feel like that's too much. So I really think this is something that I want to have an answer for this, but I do think I need to research this because this would be very important casting for me. I'm not going to, if it happens to be somebody that I don't think would be a good fit, I'm not going to say, you ruined Bruce Springsteen for me.
Right.
So I could still listen to...
He's not the Human Torch, yeah.
Yeah, I could still listen to, the song Factory over and over and over again, like I do on my very long walks. So this I have to think of, and I will come up with an answer in the next few episodes. Pat, you are a legendary Bruce Springsteen hater.
Yes.
You hate him, and it is wrong.
David Krumholtz. I think he should be played by David Krumholtz.
Okay. And now, are you having a laugh? Are you taking a piss?
I'm not having a laugh. I'm not taking a piss. I'm thinking of a charismatic Jewish actors. And Krumholtz just sprung to mind for me. Maybe he's too old. Maybe this is a part he could have played more in his Freaks and Geeks days, but there's something there.
Now, Pat, are you under the assumption that Bruce Springsteen is Jewish?
That is the assumption I'm having. And you're saying that is not true.
It's possible that he's not. We won't get into this because
we won't get into this. But yeah, just New Jersey, New York. He's Krumholtz. I feel like captures the flavor of Bruce Springsteen. Though again, he may be too old to play the part because music biopic. You figure you're going to want him to play, cradle to grave type of thing. Play him younger. So Krumholtz probably doesn't fit. What about? You talked about Bob Dylan. Cate Blanchett played Bob Dylan. Maybe Cate Blanchett plays Bruce Springsteen.
I'm not adverse to that at all.
Yeah.
I'm not adverse to. I'm not adverse. I know somebody else who famously played Elvis, Tiny Elvis or Jewish Elvis. I mean, Sarah's Squirm. I mean, could Sarah Squirm do Springsteen? It's not a terrible fit.
She's famously Long Island, Bruce's Jersey. There is obviously overlap there, but I do think they're different enough. But yeah, I mean, listen, she's an actress. She's a comedian, but she's an actress. Maybe Sarah Squirm as Bruce Springsteen. I'll go see it for sure. Clayton, we got to wrap up this after BO. We got an email from wannabe oh boy Ryan about Kevin Feige, Robert Downey. I kind of want to save that for another episode because I think we've given the people more than enough on this after BO. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, and I just want to say here, it says here Bruce Springsteen is Dutch, Irish, and Italian.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. So, but I mean, anyone can play anyone. So, or not, who knows? But I still think Krumholtz, when he was younger, Freaks and Geeks, could have played Springsteen. I think he had that it factor. Still does, but again, the age thing, he probably can't play 20-year-old Bruce Springsteen.
Yeah, but again, you could cast a younger actor for that. I mean, that's not something that would kill this.
Right. And listen, I like the suggestion of Dominic Sessa. You know, height maybe is a thing, but this guy, I think he could pull it off. So, all right, Clayton, I think we've done it. I think we've given the people more than enough for a web exclusive. So, you know, watch all our videos on the YouTube channel, full episodes, clips, all that. And yeah, that's it. Thanks for watching the After BO.